Welcome to the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association's official coaching video. It's presented by the former world champion Terry Griffiths, chairman of the World Governing Body's Coaching Committee. The program's introduced by David Vine.
Yes, this is what every snooker player dreams of. Playing in the final of the Championship of the World in front of a sellout crowd, millions more watching on BBC television, and then lifting high that historic old trophy. You know, it's generally accepted that snooker was invented in India way back in 1875. The rules of the game, which were drawn up that year, were posted in the billiard room of the Ooty Club at the hill station of Ootacamund, which has remained virtually unchanged to this day. At first, snooker, well, it was just a diversion. Billiards was the main game, but then gradually, largely through the efforts of Joe Davis, who invented many of the techniques we now take for granted in the modern game, snooker grew. Joe was largely responsible for organizing the first World Championship. That was in 1927. Joe won it and remained champion for 20 years. For the next 20, the championship was dominated by just 3 players. Joe's brother Fred Davis, Walter Donaldson, and John Pulman. But snooker, you know, didn't become a major sport until the late 1970s, when television just took it to new audiences who discovered the skills of great players like Ray Reardon, 6 times world champion, John Spencer, who won the title 3 times, and, well, the remarkable Alex Higgins, who won it twice. Snooker is now played competitively in more than 50 countries. It's seen on television in over 100 more. Now, the sport's governing body, the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association, which started in 1964 with just a few players, has expanded very quickly to cope with the demands of running a major international sport. Now, the WPBSA negotiate television and sponsorship contracts, funding for new events, and they're responsible for the development of snooker throughout the world. And one of these developments is their coaching scheme. And the objective is to upgrade the standard of snooker coaching throughout the world. Now, this video makes available professional snooker coaching to players of all standards. It's presented by their coaching committee chairman, Terry Griffiths, winner in 1979 of the World Professional Championship at his first attempt. Terry has also observed firsthand the world title triumphs of Cliff Thorburn, Dennis Taylor, Joe Johnson, John Parrott, Steve Davis, who dominated the championship by winning 6 times in the 1980s, and of course Stephen Hendry, who won his 5th world title in 1995. Well, we'll be showing glimpses of some of these champions and other great players as well, including Jimmy White, to illustrate various points. Terry Griffiths will have the assistance of 2 WPBSA qualified coaches. That's Karen Kaur, the ladies' world champion, and Matthew Couch, one of the association's finest young coaches. You'll also be hearing the voice of journalist and television commentator Clive Everton. Now, it's a long, long road from novice to world champion, but someone who's made that journey is Terry Griffiths.
You know, when I first started playing in 1961, there were no coaches or videos available to help me learn, and of course, no television coverage. So for me, it is a matter of trial and error. I'm convinced that if expert coaching and analysis had been available when I was starting out, I would have achieved success much, much earlier than I did. Hopefully this video will do just that for you.
The basic grip is to pick up the cue as if you're going to hit someone over the head with it. But there's a lot more to it than that. Approach the table so that you can lay the cue along the line of the shot you're going to play. Now, the stance. There are 2 basic types, and incidentally, throughout this video, all references will be to right-handed players. There's the modern-day square-on stance, which is the Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry way. And there's the left foot in front of the right. With both, the left knee is bent and is parallel to the line of the shot. The right leg is straight and braced. Your weight must be slightly forward. The height and physique of the player will help determine where he puts his left foot, but his right foot will be in line with the shot so that the cue moves directly over it. There are reasons why one or other of these stances might be better suited to you, but at the end of the day, the most important point is that your stance provides you with a firm and solid base which allows you to deliver the cue through on a straight, level line. Now the bridge. This is formed by placing the hand on the table, spreading the fingers and drawing up the knuckles with the pads of the fingers and heel of the hand gripping the cloth. Cock the thumb to make a channel for your cue, with the first finger at a slight angle to give the cue further support. The bridge must remain perfectly still throughout the shot. The V formed by your thumb and index finger helps you with the line of sighting and also helps to keep the cue on line. We can now put together the basic elements of the grip, stance, line and bridge. You'll note there are a series of straight lines from the back of the cue, along it, over the bridge, to the centre of the cue ball, to the centre of the object ball, to the pocket. Notice how the cue is level and the weight of the body is slightly forward. And you'll note too that the cue moves directly over the right foot. If you look from behind the pocket, you'll see the same line in reverse. Pocket, object ball, cue, bridge and more cue, finishing in your cue hand. You'll also see Terry's eye line along the cue. If you look at his stance side on, you'll see that he's bending from the hips rather than the waist, and that the cue is just brushing his chest. Let's go through the basic points again. Grip the cue as if you're going to hit someone over the head with it. Approach the table so that you can lay the cue along the line of the shot. Whether you stand square on or left foot in front of right, your left knee should be bent, your right leg straight, and your weight slightly forward. Your cue should move directly over your right foot. Form your bridge by spreading the fingers, drawing at the knuckles, and gripping the cloth with your fingers and the heel of your hand. Make a channel for your cue with thumb and first finger. Above all, deliver the cue through in a straight, level line.
Let's now have a closer look at the grip, which very few players give enough attention to. I'd go as far as to say that among players of 50 break standard or better, 70% of their problems are grip related. All the great players deliver the cue through in a straight, level line.
To achieve this, the WPBSA recommends that the cue hand hangs straight down from the arm so that the top joint of the thumb and the top joint of the first finger are roughly level. They form the shape of a V. The thumb and first finger then close round the cue. The V is now still in position but less pronounced. The other fingers then come onto the cue, acting as a cradle. In a nutshell, the thumb and first two fingers carry the cue, while the third and little finger fold around the cue in a relaxed, natural way.
If you grip the cue too loosely, you lose control of the cue. But if you grip it tightly, your cue action will tend to be too stiff because you won't be able to move the cue with any freedom. The V coupled with your first finger help you to keep the cue on line.
There should be a vertical line bisecting the centre of the cue towards the back of the grip. The elbow should remain still so that the lower arm moves as a pendulum. In summary, the thumb and first finger should form a V which closes round the cue. The other fingers act as a cradle, with the thumb and first two fingers taking the weight of the cue. Your back arm should be vertical from elbow to wrist at the address position. The elbow should remain still so that the lower arm moves as a pendulum. Having seen the formation of the grip in its stationary position, now let's look at how the grip functions in the backswing. Here's a simple check. Bring the cue into a vertical position and with your other hand pull the cue towards your face. This will give you a feel of how the grip functions during the backswing as the back 3 fingers release. From the address position, allow your first finger and thumb to start the backswing. Couple this with a backward movement of the forearm.
During this motion, the second, third and little fingers start to relax their grip on the cue. This helps to keep the cue level during the backswing as the wrist starts to come into play. The V and first finger must stay in contact with the cue throughout. This helps to keep the cue action under control.
To summarise then, your first finger and thumb start the backswing. During each backswing, your second, third and little fingers relax their grip to keep the cue level. The V and first finger stay in contact with the cue to control it. Every visit to the table, you have to make a decision concerning the pace of the shot you wish to play. Your grip position, and therefore the length of backswing and follow-through, should be decided before you approach the table. These factors decide the pace you want to generate. To help you decide, let's scale the strength of shot from 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest, 1 the softest. Form your stance, making sure that the tip of the cue is almost touching the centre of the cue ball. The length of bridge from the tip back to the V of your thumb and index finger should be between 9 and 12 inches. Your left elbow should be slightly bent for comfort and stability, and the right arm should be vertical from wrist to elbow. You are now in the correct position, and at the back a gap has been formed between your grip and the point on your chest you must hit on your follow-through. Now mark your cue with a pencil where your cue bisects the V. This helps you to keep a consistent distance between the cue ball and bridge hand. It also allows you to check the length of your follow-through. Terry also has a ring around the butt of his cue. This is where he normally grips the cue in the address position. Your normal address position will be used for 70% of the shots you play, which on our scale will be shots ranging in strength between 5 and 8. Your follow-through will be between 4 and 5 inches. For shots ranging in strength from 1 to 5, you should move your grip forward of the vertical, which will cut down your follow-through to between half an inch and 3.5 inches. For harder shots between 9 and 10, the power shots, your follow-through can be as much as 6 or 7 inches. You achieve this by moving your grip back from the vertical. A warning, however, don't overdo this as it's easy to lose cue control. The follow-through is completed when the right hand hits your chest. Now you must combine what we've just demonstrated with the required length of backswing to control the pace required for each shot. For many years, the length of backswing has been a major topic of discussion between coaches. Some think the longer the backswing, the smoother the delivery will be. Others argue that a shorter backswing cuts down the margin for error. The WPBSA recommends that for shots strength 1 to 5, your backswing should be between 1 and 4.5 inches. For shots strength 5 to 8, your backswing should be between 5 to 8 inches. And for shots strength 9 to 10, your backswing should be 9 to 11 inches long. With practice, this will give you the correct balance between backswing and follow-through for all shots. With this method, you'll develop a smooth rhythm, allowing you to deliver the cue at a constant speed regardless of what pace the shot demands. It'll also greatly improve your timing. It's all a matter of balance. Too long a backswing can allow errors to creep in, while with a backswing that is too short, unwanted body movement could occur. Never forget that the length of your backswing is doubled by the time your tip returns to the cue ball. This applies to every shot you make. Like all things in snooker, practice makes perfect, or as near perfect as you can get. Use the ball cline and cue to the brown spot using a short, medium and long backswing in turn. Short, medium, long. This also checks the line of the cue, as you can see the shadow against the ball cline. Now you can move to practicing by hitting the cue ball over the brown, blue, pink and black spots, using the various strengths on the scale to help you develop that all-important ability to judge pace. With practice, this will become quite natural, and it's an ideal exercise for players who are striving to improve their cue ball control. Later in this video, it'll become apparent how you use these skills with the cue ball and object ball together. Most players start to play with their cue right under the middle of their chin because they see everyone else doing it. That's the right place if you're even-sighted, with your left and right eyes being of equal strength. But Karen Corr is right-eyed. Joe Davis was left-eyed, and John Parrott favours his left eye too. Cliff Thorburn is another, but Neil Foulds is a right-eye sighter. So too is Gary Wilkinson. Some players try for years to play with the cue in the wrong place, so you need to discover which is your master eye. Place a piece of chalk at one end of the table and stand directly in front of it at the other end. Point your first finger at the chalk with both eyes open, then cover your left eye. If your finger is still pointing at the chalk, you'll know you are right-eyed. To confirm this, now cover your right eye. If you have to move your finger to keep it pointing at the chalk, that's further proof that your right eye is indeed your master eye. Perform the same test for your left eye. If you're left-eyed, your cue should travel directly underneath it, and vice versa for right-eyed players. In the light of this, you may need to alter your stance so that you can get into a more comfortable position to line up your master eye squarely behind the cue ball. Finally, the more right-eyed you are, the more square-on your stance will be. The reverse applies to left-eyed players.
So far then, Terry and his coaching team have outlined snooker's essentials: grip, stance, bridge, backswing, follow-through and sighting. A lot of material there to digest, which shows just how easy it is to go wrong before you've even hit the ball. But now we're moving on to the business end of the game, involving potting and the various spins you need to master in order to achieve the essential control of the cue ball.
The preliminary address is known as feathering, and the number of feathers taken varies from player to player. Some take 2 or 3, others may take several more. During these feathers, your eye should switch between cue ball and object ball, relating one to the other. This helps to develop a rhythm and gives you a feel for the shot. Snooker is one of the few games played where there are 2 balls directly involved, the cue ball and the object ball. To overcome the problems this creates, you must get your eyes up onto the spot on the object ball you want the cue ball to hit before striking the cue ball. There are 3 ways to do this. 1. Before you start the final backswing. 2. During your final backswing. 3. After completing the final backswing. The first method is helpful to players whose eyes are slow to refocus. The second requires the player to slow down his final backswing to give the eyes time to lift up and focus on the object ball. The third method is the most generally used and is the one recommended by the WPBSA because it helps to give a more consistent pause. Whichever method you use, make sure only your eyes move, not your head, because head movement at any stage of the shot is counterproductive. All players must pause at the end of the backswing. This pause, in fact, completes the final backswing. The pause at the back is more pronounced with some players. Some also pause before the start of their final backswing. They do this to recheck that they are hitting the cue ball in the right place. By using the first finger and thumb to set the cue off in motion, a good wrist action will develop. This in turn helps to control your backswing, cutting down the distance your forearm has to travel. The wrist's most important role occurs when you start the approach to the actual hit. It snaps back to help you accelerate the cue through the cue ball. This means you don't need too vigorous a contribution from the forearm. Remember, the length of the cue action is determined by the pace required for the shot. Quite correctly, all coaches will tell you to follow through. Why is it important? Because it enables you to accelerate through the cue ball and provides a check that your cue has finished on line. Ronnie O'Sullivan provides a good example of this.
That is a great shot under pressure.
Earlier in the programme, we broke down the cue action into sections. The actual hitting of the cue ball consists of a thrust forward of the cue from the pause at the end of the backswing to the completion of the follow-through. Remember, the follow-through is completed when the right hand hits the chest. The point of the elbow must remain still. Timing in snooker is very difficult to define, let alone achieve. Top-class players generally believe it's achieved when the cue is travelling at its fastest as it hits and goes through the cue ball. The cue should be at maximum acceleration as it goes through the ball. This has the effect of allowing the tip to stay in contact with the cue ball a fraction of a second longer, which improves control. Nobody in the game times the ball better than Jimmy White, and there he timed it a bit too well. He screwed the cue ball back more than intended, leaving himself much straighter on the black than he wanted to. He's also got to raise the butt of the cue to get the necessary backspin to screw back. He didn't quite manage it. The cue ball is only a couple of inches off the side cushion, and this is a tricky pot. It's half ball to the left corner, but the bonus is that the cue ball will be cannoning into other reds and developing them. Nicely judged. The cue ball cannoning off the back of the reds, off the side cushion, and leaving an angle on the black. But he's been unfortunate. Those reds all appear to be covering each other, and there's only one, possibly, that's the one second right of picture, which appears potable. He runs the cue ball through off two cushions, but runs it too far.
32.
He's had a bit of luck, though. He's just dropped on an alternative red to the left corner. He'll need the rest, or perhaps the extension as well, to cut it in. That's the one in the middle of the picture. It's a tricky shot, this, and it demands good judgment of pace to get ideal position. The cue ball comes off the top and side cushions, but not quite far enough. White wanted the cue ball above the blue so that he could bring the cue ball towards his next red. Here's the shot again. The thin cut is a good pot, but the position isn't 100%. The blue's very simple, but it won't get him very far, and therefore he decides to play a much more difficult brown. Good pot, played with screw and right-hand side. That whips the cue ball round off the baulk and side cushions for the back red. Even now, it's not straightforward though. The potting angle on this red means that the cue ball must go into another red. Again, he needs backspin. He raises the butt of the cue. The cannon off the second red doesn't work out too badly, although the cue ball finishes near the middle pocket. Quite awkward cueing, but see how well he gets through the cue ball. The cue ball bounces off the side cushion to leave perfect position.
43.
Jimmy White knows what he's going to do with this shot and the next one, but his mind is running a little further ahead.
44.
That was just a natural angle, plain ball striking to bounce off the side cushion to leave a friendly angle on the black. Again, plain ball striking.
51.
There is a straight red to the left corner, but the one that he chooses has an additional value, because it makes the one next to it available to the same corner pocket later in the break. He would have preferred here rather less angle on the black, because he's got to play now to leave a red to the middle pocket. He would have preferred to have left one to the corner.
59.
Low striking, getting well through the cue ball from a short backswing. He has a natural angle to pop the black and bounce the cue ball off the cushion for the next red. No spin of any kind required.
67.
He has a choice of reds, but the one he chooses makes the one just below it more easily available later in the break.
68.
He can play for the red right of picture into the left corner, but he's got his eye on another one, the left-hand red in the cluster of 3. If he pots this, the one next to it will become available to the left corner pocket.
74.
Again, he leaves himself a manoeuvrable angle on the black. A simple bounce off the top cushion, plain ball for his next red.
81.
The natural angle is taking the cue ball slightly into the second red, but only onto a thin edge, and black ball position is still guaranteed. Here, he ignores the open red. He wants to develop the one on the side cushion. Instead of playing on the open red, he plays with screw and right-hand side to develop the awkward one, knowing that at the worst, he'll still have a shot at the open one. But just when it looks as if he might clear the table, a moment of carelessness, and the break ends on 89. A sense of timing is also important in other aspects of the game. Some players take longer than others to decide what shot to play before they even approach the table. Some take more preliminary feathers, and some take longer to refocus on the spot on the object ball they wish to strike. All these things are part and parcel of that indefinable and elusive thing known as timing. When you're playing well, your own personal rhythm and therefore timing will be in harmony. To recap then, as you feather, switch your eyes from cue ball to object ball, relating the one to the other. Make sure you get your eyes onto the object ball before you actually strike the cue ball. Develop an effective wrist action by using the first finger and thumb to set the cue in motion. Pause at the end of the final backswing. Follow through so that you accelerate the cue through the cue ball. At the completion of the shot, the right hand should hit the chest, and the cue should have followed through on line. Keep the point of the elbow still, and always, on every shot you play, without exception, keep your head still throughout the shot until it's completed. So far we've concentrated on straight pots. Now we're going to help you to recognise different potting angles. The four basic ones are full ball, three-quarter ball, half ball, and quarter ball. To help you recognise these angles, imagine a straight line from the middle of the pocket through to the furthest point on the object ball. This will always be the point where the cue ball should strike the object ball. There are a number of variations on these angles, but once you've mastered these four, you'll soon be able to adjust to any others which come up. It'll be trial and error at first, but with practice, potting angles will become ingrained in your memory. Steve Davis would immediately recognise this as a half ball black from its spot.
Once you've acquired the ability to cue in a straight line through the centre of the cue ball, you can then start to apply different spins. This will enable you to control the path of the cue ball to gain good position for your next shot.
First, we'll concentrate on where the tip of your cue must make contact with the cue ball and what effects you can obtain. A clock face will help to identify where the cue ball should be struck to achieve specific results. Strike at 12 o'clock for topspin, 6 o'clock for backspin, 3 o'clock for right-hand side spin, 9 o'clock for left-hand side spin. The effect of topspin is to accelerate the forward motion of the cue ball after it makes contact with the object ball. Just after impact, the cue ball gathers pace with the topspin and then loses it. You'll notice that to keep your cue parallel when playing with topspin, you'll need to raise your bridge slightly to strike the cue ball at 12 o'clock. Again we see the topspin, the accelerated forward spinning, the cue ball chasing after the object ball until it runs out of steam. This shows the cue ball lifting off the bed of the table on contact because the cue isn't level enough. The downward blow causes the jump and reduces the cue ball's momentum. This shot is played with a normal bridge position. By striking the cue ball just above the centre line, the cue ball will continue its forward motion after striking the object ball. With plain ball striking, the cue ball will lose some speed on impact, but will still retain enough natural forward motion to run through. For backspin, it's important to drop your bridge lower to keep your cue as level as possible during delivery. Aim to strike the ball at 6 o'clock. After hitting the object ball, the cue ball will accelerate in a backward spinning motion. After impact, the cue ball will recoil from the object ball, picking up speed as the spin takes maximum effect. The spin gradually leaves the cue ball. The extent of the screw back depends on the combination of power and spin. There are many variations of the three main spins, including stun, stun run through and drag, which have different effects on the cue ball. The stun is used to stop the cue ball dead on impact. James Wattenaar does that here. But with good cueing and slightly higher striking, you can play a stun run through. The stun takes most but not quite all the speed out of the cue ball on impact. Here, James Wattenaar plays a stun run through to retain prime position on the black.
73.
Drag is used to slow down the cue ball as it travels to a distant object ball. The cue ball can be struck quite firmly, but by the time the drag has left the ball, it will only be travelling quite slowly when it reaches the object ball. Drag is particularly useful on very fast tables or when you can't rely on the table running true. The greater the distance between cue ball and object ball, the more pace you'll need in order to maintain the effect of the spin up until contact on the object ball. At this distance, the combination of pace and backspin will stop the cue ball dead. From closer range, the same combination of backspin and pace will screw the cue ball back. At the very instant of impact, the cue ball seems to take just a fraction of a second to stop its natural forward motion before it starts to run backwards because of the spin. With any shot less than a full ball contact, less backspin will be retained by the cue ball after contact. The thinner the contact, the more pace the cue ball retains. With practice, you'll learn that all these things are geared towards gaining the best possible position for the cue ball for your next shot.
9.
James Wattenaar here strikes the cue ball with topspin at 12 o'clock, running it off the cushion at a slight angle. This leaves the sort of angle on his next red from which he'll be able to obtain position for the black. He does this with a soft to medium screw, striking the cue ball at 6 o'clock.
15.
The cue ball runs away slightly, not enough backspin on it, so he has to bridge a little awkwardly. He has to strike downwards to get the necessary backspin to pop the black and stun off the cushion for his next red.
Only use side when absolutely necessary. This is because when potting with side, you need to make an allowance in your potting angle. The use of side is high risk, and you need a tremendous amount of practice to become proficient with it.
Applying side to the cue ball causes it to deviate from a straight line. This deviation will vary according to the pace of the shot. The greater the pace, the more the deviation. In slow motion, the right of centre striking pushes the cue ball initially to the left, but we see it coming back online as the second phase of the right-hand side spin takes effect. Applying right-hand side to the cue ball will throw it to the left in an arc before it comes back online. Left-hand side does the reverse. You can practice this yourself along the balk line. Apply right-hand side to spin the cue ball off the cushion to the right. Left-hand side will spin the cue ball off the cushion to the left. Using top and side spin together means striking the cue ball at either 10 or 2 o'clock. This high striking causes the cue ball to deviate less off the straight. Thanks to the top spin, the accelerated forward motion of the cue ball will be there. So too is the widened angle from the cue ball's rebound off the cushion because of the side spin. If you use a combination of backspin and side spin, you'll achieve what is called reverse side. Apply backspin and left-hand side to the cue ball. After striking the object ball, the cue ball will accelerate backwards from the effect of the backspin. But when the cue ball rebounds off the cushion, it will spin to the right as the player looks at it. So by striking bottom left at about 7 o'clock, the backspin brings the cue ball to the side cushion, and the side spin, the left-hand side, widens the angle as it zips off the side cushion. There is nothing mysterious about this. If you see the shot from the other side of the table, then the cue ball reacts in exactly the same way as when you strike your shot towards a cushion with side alone. You can see the cue ball carrying backspin and side spin, but the side spin only comes into effect on contact with the side cushion. Swerve shots are useful when you're attempting to escape from snookers. In order to impart the extra spin required for this shot, your cue should be raised to an angle of about 45 degrees. Your bridge should be fully raised with the 4 fingertips gripping the cloth very firmly. To get the cue ball to swerve to the left, the point of contact on the cue ball is above centre and hit with left-hand spin. The cue ball will initially throw sharply to the right, bypassing the snookering ball before the left-hand spin takes effect, bringing the cue ball back to the left and on to strike the object ball. The nap of the cloth runs from the baulk cushion to the cushion behind the black spot. When using right-hand side with the nap, the cue ball will curl to the right. Against the nap, though, this reverses. To review snooker's basic spins then. For top spin, strike at 12 o'clock. For backspin, at 6 o'clock. For right-hand side, 3 o'clock. For left-hand side, 9 o'clock. Vary the contact point slightly according to just how much spin you need for the particular shot, and remember that the spin is mostly activated and controlled by the way the cue goes through the ball. The better you time the shot, the less the cue ball will initially throw off line when using side.
You won't play snooker for long without realising that it isn't always possible to make a standard bridge. There are so many balls on the table that they often get in the way, and you've also got the cushions to contend with. Some shots you can't possibly reach with your normal bridge, and you'll need the rest or spider to help you.
When the cue ball is tight on the cushion, you can only hit the top segment of it. Because of the cushion, your cue will need to be slightly raised. If possible, keep your bridge short and grip further up the cue. This gives a controlled, compact action. Keep the body and head still, feather and strike smoothly. Follow all the normal rules of good cueing, but recognise that tight on the cushion is awkward cueing even for top players, and don't be too ambitious in your choice of shot. When the cue ball is tight on the cushion and the shot requires a little more power, you need to bring your bridge back to the edge of the cushion rail. Push your fingers firmly into the rail to give your bridge stability. Because your bridge is now longer than the one we've just seen, your grip needs to be nearer the back end of your cue. Again, cue smoothly and keep still. When the cue ball is not quite far enough from the cushion to place your bridge hand on the bed of the table, This sort of bridge can be useful. Tuck the thumb inwards out of the way and form a loop with the first finger. The cue runs along the thumb and is also kept on line by the underside of the first finger and the tip of the second finger. See the cue just pushing against the loop finger. This helps keep it on line. Sometimes the cue ball is a fraction too far from the cushion to use your standard hand bridge, or there may be another ball where you want to place your bridge. If there's a choice to be made between having to make a bridge either longer or shorter than ideal, the shorter bridge is usually the better option. When the cushion rail gets in the way of the ordinary bridge, you can place 2 fingers or even 3 on the cushion rail and leave yourself just enough room to bridge like this. Your cue action then will be slightly downward. Some players prefer in these situations to make a loop bridge supported by 1 or 2 fingers on the table bed, with the others tucked away on the cushion rail. This sort of loop bridge does enable you to get a more level cue action. Top players employ both these bridges and choose one or other by instinct. To bridge over a ball, both the bridge and cue have to be raised. 2 difficulties arise from this. The bridge has to be held steady by the fingertips, which need to be widely spread and pushing very firmly into the cloth. The wrist must be braced, and it's vital to keep the whole bridge still, otherwise you won't hit the middle of the cue ball. This brings in the second major problem. When striking downwards, even the slightest degree of off-centre striking creates an unintentional swerve. This swerve will take the cue ball away from its intended contact point on the object ball. The nearer the cue ball is to the obstructing ball, the higher the bridge has to be. The tighter the cue ball is to the obstructing ball, the more your line of sight will be downwards, so making it progressively more difficult to get your eye onto the object ball in the course of your final backswing. This difficulty becomes even more pronounced the further the object ball is away. These are shots to be treated with the utmost respect. The rest requires a completely different sideways action from the one you use in your normal hand bridges. The cue should be gripped between the thumb and first 2 fingers. The left hand holds the rest firmly in position. The rest head itself should be near enough the cue ball to permit a proper follow through, but not so near that you have to strike downwards more than necessary. Build up the rhythm of your cue action in your preliminary feathering, pause on the final backswing, and hit straight through the cue ball. Remember, as with normal cueing, sweet timing comes from the cue being at maximum acceleration as it goes through the cue ball. The spider is for playing over an obstructing ball when you can't reach with your normal bridge hand. Place the spider head as near the obstructing ball as you need without fouling it. You'll need to strike downwards, but don't strike downwards at a steeper angle than absolutely necessary. Above all, make sure that you strike the centre of the cue ball. All spider shots are tricky, and it doesn't pay to be over-ambitious.
So, that's how you should play. We've covered everything you need to know in the preparation and execution of snooker's standard range of shots. You need to consolidate what you've learnt with a range of practice routines. And here our coaches demonstrate a few which might help you.
This exercise is to pot the 3 balls, 2 into one middle pocket and 1 into the other. It's a simple exercise to help you develop control of pace. Using plain ball striking only, pot the first red at just sufficient pace to run through to leave a 3/4 ball pot on the second red to the opposite middle pocket. As it happens, Karen's a little short of pace, so even at pocket weight, she can't hold the cue ball perfectly for the third red. The cue ball has run on, so she's been left with a more difficult pot, half ball rather than 3/4. Now Karen Kaur moves on to a similar exercise, potting all 3 reds into the same middle pocket. Once again, the idea is to leave a series of easy pots. pot the first ball, not just to leave yourself able to pot the second ball, but to leave the pot at a suitable angle to get easily on the third ball. Use just enough screw and pace in potting the first red at about 3/4 ball to finish at about a 3/4 ball angle to pot the second ball. Too much screw, not enough pace. Start again. Then pot the second red with enough screw and pace to leave you positioned for the third red. Shooting over the spots is an exercise in centre ball striking. Here Matthew Couch is playing over the brown, blue, pink and black spots to an imaginary full ball contact on a red placed on the cushion rail on this line. Matthew plays the cue ball with just enough strength for it to return over the spots and strike the tip of his cue. Perfect cueing. When he plays the same shot at increased speed, it's clear how much more difficult this exercise becomes. The harder you hit, the more difficult it is to hit the cue ball dead centre, so here it's carrying unintentional side as it rebounds from the cushion. Just the slightest degree of off-centre striking at speed means that the cue ball is carrying side spin when it reaches the cushion and therefore rebounds offline. Perfect cueing at speed is possible, and to play top-class snooker you need to be able to rely on accurate cue ball striking at all speeds. A combination of a straight cue action and accurate striking does the trick. Consistently potting straight balls is one of the bedrocks of the game. Start with not too much distance between cue ball and object ball before progressing to greater distances. Don't move on until you've potted 2 in succession at the preceding stage. Notice how Terry's cue finishes dead on line as it completes the follow-through. Observe how still he keeps on the shot. The greater the stress in a match situation, the more missable these long straight or straight-ish pots can look. The top players have practiced them constantly over a period of years to build their confidence and develop a sound technique which holds up under such pressure.
Well, you've been watching the official World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association's guide to snooker's basic techniques. A lot to practice and a lot to think about. But practice using the right technique will undoubtedly improve your performance, especially in matches. But don't forget, the most basic objective is getting pleasure from what you're doing. It's one of snooker's great joys. The better you play, the more you're going to enjoy it.
This is the concluding part of Stephen Hendry's 147 maximum break in the 1995 Embassy World Championship. 15 reds, 15 blacks and the 6 colours. 36 consecutive pots. The same essentials of technique going into each shot. Straight cueing, through, never across the ball. No body or head movement until the shot's completed. Clear planning, usually 2 shots ahead, sometimes more. Total concentration on the shot in hand. The black from its spot is a half ball pot. Hendry will need to strike the cue ball just below centre to stun it off the top cushion for choice of reds. By removing the end red, he will make the one next to it available to the left corner pocket. It's a plain ball shot. All he has to do is to bounce the cue ball off the side cushion at a natural angle. He leaves an angle to stun the cue ball off the top cushion for the back red. But that isn't the best shot he's ever played. He didn't get enough spin on the ball, perhaps not quite striking it low enough. He's lucky enough, though, to finish on a straight red to the middle. Not much backswing here, but he gets very nicely through the ball and generates the backspin to get back for the black. Half ball on the black again, a natural angle to bounce off the cushion to leave himself on his next red.
88.
The red lowest in your picture leaves him an opportunity to retain black ball position.
89.
Nice gentle stun, leaving an angle on the black. Below centre striking, on the centre line. Screwing up for choice of reds.
96.
The snags with the one left of picture are that he'd have to use the rest, and the potting angle would take the cue ball nearer the side cushion.
97.
Plain ball shot, again taking care to leave an angle on the black. If he'd finished straight, then he wouldn't have had maximum manoeuvrability. Slight stun, striking just below centre. Rest shot required, and watch how the cue goes straight through the cue ball. Rolls it in, leaving an angle on the black, but perhaps straighter than he would have wished. He would have preferred to try to get on the last red using only one cushion. Now he's got to use two, and the pink is slightly in the way. Indeed, he may be afraid of snookering himself. Nice pause. The cue goes straight through the middle of the cue ball. Turned out pretty well. The good news is that he has an angle on the last red to pot it and screw off two side cushions for the black. The bad news is that he's knocked the pink into an awkward position against the blue. Below centre and right of centre striking brings the cue ball back off the two side cushions. Again, he has an angle on the black. Watch the straight cueing again. Watch how still he keeps. Rest shot required for yellow. Again, his lifelong discipline will come into play. He selects the correct angle. He places the rest head. He pushes the cue through the cue ball on its centre line. Didn't want to finish short, but in fact almost finished, snookering himself behind pink and blue. Slightly further from the green than he would have liked, but not a problem to a player of his calibre. Below centre and left of centre striking, but potted the green off the near jaw. With a cleaner pot, the cue ball would have finished possibly straighter on the brown. There was a possibility of trying to disturb blue and pink. Instead, he played to leave an angle on the blue, to pot it in the baulk pocket and develop the pink. Below centre striking, he strikes it softly and accurately, making the cannon on the pink perfectly. Two balls to go to complete a maximum, and now he needs to pot the pink with screw and right hand side. The right hand side alters the angle the cue ball takes off the cushion, but his judgment of pace is faulty. He's left himself an awkward cut on the black. His years of training, though, tell him that this isn't a natural in-off angle for the middle pocket. Therefore, he can devote all his attention to the pot. Keep still, hit through the middle of the cue ball, and in it goes. And that's what you practice for all those years.
The basic techniques which have been explained and demonstrated in this video, they are the foundation of quality play. Top players like Terry Griffiths haven't achieved their standard of play without hour after hour of practice. Some of it very hard work on something specific, some of it not so hard, like playing countless frames, trying to build their concentration and consistency. Now, we'll be giving you a guide to further improvement in a World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association Masterclass video. If you'd like further details of the WPBSA coaching scheme or its worldwide series of events, please write to WPBSA, 27 Oakfield Road, Clifton, Bristol, BS8 2AT. The telephone number, 0117 974 4491, or you can fax them and it's 0117 974 but 4931 for the fax. Meanwhile, as Terry Griffiths continues to clear the table, let me say for now goodbye from our coaches, Karen Corr and Matthew Couch, journalist and commentator Clive Everton, and from me, David Vine. I just hope you continue to enjoy your snooker, whether it's watching on television or, best of all, playing the game.